Okay, we'll call to order the Parks and Recreation Board meeting Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. Can I get a roll call, please?
Member Cooper. Present. Member Clark.
Present.
Member Manson.
Present.
Member Collier.
Present.
Member Scott.
Present.
And Member Troutman.
Present.
Member Mapes is absent.
Thank you. At this time, we want to remember one of ours have fallen, Mr. Terry Thornton. Terry was a coach. He was an employee of Parks and Rec, but more importantly, he was a mentor to a lot of people. Terry passed suddenly previous Saturday, and he's not going to be able to be replaced. So what I'd like to do is a moment of silence in tribute to Terry. He was a great man, so if we could have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We'll now proceed to the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, moving on, seeing no personal appearances, we will move to number 5, consent agenda. I need approval of the Park Board minutes for July 26, 2022.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Bill.
I move we approve the Park Board minutes for July 26, 2022.
Do I have thank you. Hearing a first and second, any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor? Passes 6-0, 1 absent. Next, we're going to move to item number 6, staff reports. Director?
Thank you, Chair. I will ask Mr. Gibbs for a recreation and facilities report.
Thank you, sir. Chair, members of the board, I've submitted a written report, but have a couple of items that I just wanted to highlight. Starting off, athletic coordinator Todd Brennan has been very busy this week as he's been starting his coaches meetings for both soccer, flag football, and volleyball. So quite a few meetings as far as just the coaches meetings, but then also all of the scheduling meetings as we get the as we're working with all the different communities around Raymore down here. Did want to let you know that we had sent out an RFP for the Spirit of America, the 2023 Spirit of America celebration. We did receive 2 bids back. I'm in the process now of comparing those bids as far as shell counts and all that sort of stuff to see who becomes the winner on that. That one did have a maximum budget of $22,000. So of course both bids did come in at $22,000. So we'll be just going through and checking the shell counts as far, or comparing the shell counts together. A couple things that we just finished up last weekend, the mud run for this year. Huge kudos to Steve Rulo and his staff for just creating the best course this year. Have some work going on Hawk Ridge West. Took it in stride, and you know they're just redid some of the obstacles, and it really was just fantastic. We had about 300 kiddos that went through. Most of them went through more than once, so I would almost guess that we had close to 1,000 that went through the course over the course of the evening. So it was a great time. We had 4 sponsors for that: Community Bank of Raymore, Sunrise Optimist Club, Dave's Bike Shop, and Abundant Life Chiropractic. 22 volunteers, and then we had 8 full-time staff and 6 part-time staff that worked that event as well. So it worked out really, really well. One of the cool events that we had a couple weeks ago was the Lego Camp, which was designed and led by Will Mustine. And we had 14 kids that were in that Lego camp. I've learned more about Legos than I care to admit to, but it really is pretty cool. And it was a week-long camp. Like I said, we had 14 kids, and this is going to be an event that hopefully we can expand on, having specialized Lego camps, because this was just a very general, so they were building different things, but I think that we could get into some fairly specific types of builds and kits for the Lego camp. And it was really kind of a blast to go in there and be creative with the kids. Really just one last thing. We had, so I think all of you know that Recreation Coordinator Corinne Hawkins is out on maternity leave. So she's gone for another month and a half or so. Everybody in our office has just really stepped up, and I really want to acknowledge Greta Knabb and Todd Brennan for taking on a lot of extra activities. Todd and Greta are both staffing and working the farmers market, like what's going on out there today. And then the last week of camp, Greta moved her office out to the rack, and she became the camp director for the last week, which was just absolutely fantastic. The kids loved it, the camp counselors loved it, and it really allowed us to end the season on a great note. So a lot of appreciation that goes out to the folks that have been able to step up and just take on a few more activities during this kind of busy time. So, well, that concludes my report. Stand for any questions.
Any questions for Superintendent Gibbs? I do have one. Did you step on a Lego?
No, but there are Legos everywhere still.
It's kind of like for the new Easter egg hunt, find a Lego.
I just found a Lego today, and that camp's been over for 2 weeks.
Okay, I have a second question as well, either for you or Superintendent Rulo. Is this the 5th year of the Mud Run, 4th year? Do you know? I was trying to remember today, and I could not remember.
I'd say it's either 5 or 6.
Okay. Thank you.
Good, Jerry was.
I think 17 was the first. Is that right?
Jerry was here for the first one.
It's either 2016 or 2017.
It's just amazing. It just gets bigger and better every year, so that's awesome.
And to make a comment about that, our daughter volunteered again this year and said she had a blast. She volunteered through Community Bank of Raymore. Really loved the event again, enjoys volunteering for it. So she came back just absolutely covered, but had a wonderful time. Thank you.
It's pretty.
Then she did it right. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Director?
Thanks, sir. I'll ask Mr. Rulo for a parks report.
Thank you. I submitted a written report. Just wanted to hit on a couple key items. If you guys have not been down past Rec Park, where the old park house was, where the new skate park is going, that project is moving right along. It now looks like a skate park. You can tell what it's gonna be. Talked to the construction gentleman yesterday. His name is Todd. I feel very sorry for him. He is one heck of a worker. He's been doing all this by himself. Same thing that we've run through, hard to find people to work. And it looks like a skate park and concrete is gonna be start pouring tomorrow. So looking forward to that. Staff's getting caught up with the mowing again. Kind of fell behind a little bit last week with the mud run, spending all week out there, but should be caught up with that by the end of this week. And just wanted to say thanks to all who attended the mud run out there. It was great, like Jimmy said, it was a great turnout, and did not see one frown on anybody's face. Everybody had fun. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Superintendent Rulo? No. Thank you, sir. Director?
All right, thank you, sir. I did submit a written report. Mr. Gibbs and Mr. Rulo both kind of hit on things that I touched on last night at the city council meeting, highlighting, so I'll give you guys a couple more detail items. not only is the skate park up and going, West Hawk Ridge Park kind of got some things ironed out, and quantities and stuff. Like once you get actually on site, things aren't always what they were on paper, and you got to iron out those details. Those are done. They are moving forward. It's you can visibly see the parking lot, the trail, the track, all of it. It's gonna be a really neat project. Got notified today that the Hawks Nest, the playground equipment, is in. They will be mobilizing, and construction starts the Tuesday after Labor Day. So 2 weeks from today, we start building that thing, which is a long 6 years since we started that project. So that's pretty exciting. They anticipate around October 24th, somewhere 23rd, 24th timeframe of completing that. And then the west side should be done. So hopefully we'll have some nice fall weather, and we'll do kind of a ribbon cutting for the west side of Hawk Ridge Park and the playground all at the same time. That's the plan. Want to pass along publicly, I told Mr. Rulo today, but PD was kind of in a bind today with their shooting range and just not being able to keep it maintained, and our parks guys trailered over our equipment yesterday and took care of that and sprayed weeds and stuff, and just did a good job for them. And it was noticed by the Deputy Chief Wilson and wanted me to publicly thank them. So there you go. I passed that along. And want to reiterate what Jimmy said about our staff stepping up. I mean, I told the council last night, we've lost a staff member that was a pretty key part of our part-time staff. We have one that is on maternity leave, and I've been pretty much absent with all the funerals I've been going to all summer long, and these guys just continue to step up, and it's like nothing gets missed, and it doesn't go unnoticed, and it is, we're very grateful. So just wanted to say thanks to these guys in front of you guys, so that maybe I'll get a little credit for that. And that concludes my staff report.
Any questions for the director? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move into our next part, unfinished business. We have none. So now we are going to move to new business. Action item A, fiscal year 23, schedule of fees. Director?
Thank you, sir. This is a request for approval of the changes that we have made to the schedule of fees. Typically, we do this February, March time as we're preparing for the budget. This year was a little different in that we needed to make change within the budget to accommodate some finances, some revenue pitfalls, and some things to help make ends meet, so to speak. So I did not bring the schedule of fees to you at that time, knowing that we would be making some significant changes. We are now at that point. The city council has seen the budget. They have approved those changes, or at least they didn't have any questions or have told me that that's not going to work. So because of that, I'm bringing the schedule of fees to you, showing you the changes that we've made to help balance our budget. I would ask that you do look at them. If there are any questions or you have any hesitation about any of those, now's the time so that we can make those adjustments. They're not hard to make at this point, but it does affect a lot of things. So I need to know that if you have any questions about it. I will hope that next year we don't have to come at this point in the season, the budget season, but it was just necessary this year. So I have provided an attachment for you. Obviously, changes are in red. I've tried to be consistent throughout. So if we increased a half shelter or a picnic shelter, a certain amount of money, I was across the board to keep them even so that it's easy for reservations and it just makes sense. Disc golf and the rink, we increased those prices. And Centerview, we went through that and made some significant changes in that pricing scale. It is the same. If I did one, I did the same amount across the board on those things. But this will be the first time that we've had some any major changes in the Centerview rental fees since we built the building. So I would anticipate that will hold for a year or two, and then we'll reevaluate that. But this allowed us to present a balanced budget. I am happy to answer any questions, any as best I can. And that concludes staff report.
Any questions for the director? Bill?
Director, these changes in fees were based fairly on what the demand was for services and the time and cost for our employees, right?
Yes, and it was an evaluation of like shelters, like pricing from neighborhood cities, just to keep it in range of where we normally are.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the director?
I do have one more. I kind of forgot.
You have a question for
I have
yourself?
I have a question
Excellent.
for myself.
I can't wait.
I'd like to know when and what time I'm leaving for South Carolina on Sunday to accept our award for TV Hannah. So letting you guys know that that is next week, Sunday through Tuesday. Melissa Harmer, communications manager, and I will be flying out South Carolina to Charlotte. Or is that North Carolina? I don't know. Now I've confused myself. That's the question of the night, is where is Charlotte? And that's where the Public Works Annual Conference is, so I'll bring back that piece of hardware for the next meeting.
Steve, just to let you know, last night I had some friends trying to leave Charlotte to come back to KCI.
What state's
They
that
never
in?
made it. They were all canceled, the flights.
Oh, lovely.
Okay. Well.
Can we move on from?
Yes, we'll move on. Congratulations on the award. That's a big deal. I'm sure we'll talk about that in comments, but that's a huge deal, so I'm glad you brought it up. Okay, I will ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Bill?
I move we approve the fiscal year 23 recommended schedule of fees as presented.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I've heard a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor? Passes unanimously, 6-0, 1 absent. Okay, we'll move on to action item B, bylaw amendment. Director?
Thank you, sir. This is a follow-up to a work session that we had where we discussed the bylaws and just kind of a 2-year review of those. We did make an amendment last month, and this is one of those, an amendment based on a topic that was discussed at the last work session. So I brought this before you to make that amendment, and we will update those bylaws to be amended and approved based on August of 2022 moving forward. So this will be the most recent version of the bylaws, if approved. What you find is in the attachment is the bylaws. It has the recommended date change from June on page 4, section 1, under officers, under Article 6. First meeting after June has been changed to January 1st, and that is when we would have officer elections. That is the only change that is recorded in this particular draft. And that concludes staff report.
Any questions for the director? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Bill?
I move to amend the Parks and Recreation Board bylaws, Article 6, Section 1 for officers. Officer elections to be held in January instead of June.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, since I've heard a first and second, no discussion, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor? Passes unanimously, 6-0, 1 absent. We have no one for public comment. For next, we'll move on to board member comment. I'll start with you, Ken.
I would like to take a minute to acknowledge the Park Department's quite admirable level of flexibility and ability to adjust on the fly. That's just crazy important, and you guys excel at it, and it's just awesome. to see that. And just it's like a continual flow of fun activities that benefit the community, and it's pretty good to see. Just appreciate it. Just want to let you know.
Thank you, Ken. Patrick?
Well, I'll stick with my previous comments, but thank you all. And the workload is harder now, and I know you guys are focused on doing your jobs to the satisfaction of our residents here. And the board, we're happy to be representing you all as much as we can. So thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Patrick. Chris?
I don't have any comments.
Then you'll have to give back your hat, sir. Josh?
Yeah, the mud run was a good event. I was there Friday, and all the kids had a lot of fun. The volunteers, we couldn't do it without the volunteers, so thanks to all who volunteered for that. It's funny to watch the progression of the kids. At first, they're kind of timid, and by the end of the night, they're just going crazy. So it was a good event. The weather cleared. There was a beautiful rainbow, and everybody had fun. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bill?
Yes, TV Hannah, that's a well-deserved award. You have worked you worked hard on that. It took a long time. A lot of patience, a lot of thought going into it, a lot of angst. I think it's a well-deserved reward, and that's more to the doings of you and the staff than anybody. And the mud run, unfortunately, I wasn't there. I usually like playing in the mud, but I missed that opportunity. I also missed the opportunity for Josh that holds me down. Anytime, all right. And again, I'll steal some of Steve's thunder. I want to thank the city council for the support they've given to us, because without it, we wouldn't be where we're at. An excellent park system that's second to none, and that is one of the biggest draws to our citizens and to new residents also. Thank you.
Thunder Stealer. So I want to start my notes off by, it all starts at the top with the director, but then for the superintendents to step in and get their people working together, and then those people below, it's a well-oiled machine. I mean, I can speak for the board members if they'll let me, and I don't think any of us have any worries, concerns. When we talk about things, it's our next adventure. It's not, oh my gosh, they didn't represent us well. So that's a kudos to all of you from the bottom all the way to the top. It's equally deserved, so I appreciate that. I brought it up a million times, the mud run. The mud run is like a city of 100,000 people. Our mud run is killer, and it was an idea of Superintendent Rulo and Director Musting, and it has grown to where people are coming from different cities. They want to be part of it. Kids are running through it 2 or 3 times. It is literally an event that sets us apart from so many cities. And I can't thank the volunteers. Without the volunteers, we couldn't do it. Steve's group, who, if they don't spend a week putting it together, it doesn't happen. It's truly amazing. That part's awesome. The idea that the park's going to go in at Hawks Ridge, we are all so excited, us that have been on the board for a long time. This is what we've been waiting for a long time, to see kids of all abilities smiling, laughing, having a great time, kind of like the mud run. This is going to be a great point of just people, again, coming to our city and enjoying. I have to thank, just like Bill said, the city council, the mayor, the citizens. We couldn't do this without you. And then my last piece is that I'd ask that you'd take prayers for Terry Thornton and his family. Such a tough loss, and he will be missed, but I just ask that you keep them in your prayers for sure. With that, we will move on to adjournment.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
move we adjourn this meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? All right, passes unanimously. Hard word for me. 6-0 to 1. Meeting adjourned.